They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome to another episode of Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube, and we are always up after the fact on Spotify. Welcome back, Robin.
It is good to be back. Well, kind of, yes.
How was Costa Rica?
Costa Rica was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Really?
I said to Chris, like, every time we go on vacation, it's like a honeymoon.
Yeah.
It's just...
Especially without children.
I feel like everything was just magical.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what you'd think it was. Like, a lot of times, like, we went down into Tamarindo, and she's like, one of the ladies, when we left the airport and we're waiting for our car, she's like, Tamarindo is like... what's the little town in California? I want to say it's like
Santa Barbara?
Santa Monica or Santa
Okay.
Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like just a sleepy little kind of like a town. I'm like, so I'm thinking like all these little boutiques. I mean, it is probably the most boutique-y, but you are still definitely in a third world country, like
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So I took a couple of pictures while we're gone. So Logan has his dad owns a garage, a body shop here, and their body shops, it's literally that corrugated tin with like a roof and just a back wall and fence on the side. You just pull your car in, and all their tools and stuff are like in toolboxes, and everything's dirt floor, and just, it's primitive. And I just, our first morning we get up, I hate frogs. Our first morning I get up, I go in to the guest bedroom because it's 4:00 in the morning there. So it's like 6:00 here. And I'm like, great, what am I going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to watch the sunrise. So I would get up every morning to watch the sunrise, which was fantastic. Because then that's when the monkeys and all the birds would wake up. And usually about 9:30. Our iguana would come out onto the pool.
And
He
sun
just showed up
himself.
one day. Like we were like 3 or 4 days in, and literally, I'm like, I'm not making this thing a pet.
So you think.
But he would come like every day after we fed him. I think I took the video like the first day he showed up, but every day after that, we would give him some fruit that we had, and he'd come. But you could tell he'd come over like close to the door. He'd get like 2 feet from the door. And he's got his tongue out, so I would stand at the door and I would talk to him, and you could hear him move. He would move his mouth, he would move his head around, and then he would stick his tongue out, and he'd come a little bit closer. But then I'd kind of jiggle the door, and he'd back up a little bit. It's like he knows. And so we were literally getting ready to walk out the door yesterday to head to the airport. And the next thing I know, he is right by the door, and I'm like, we're not doing this.
Buddy, you got to say goodbye to your buddy.
I know, and I'm like, I hope the next people
Aren't mean to him?
aren't going to chase him off. But I did get a video of one day we're just sitting at the pool, and I'd kind of gotten used to him sitting on that top step because I'm like, they get in the water, and I'm like, they're not going to hurt you. But the black and the white iguanas are more used to people than the other ones. There's like a green and a bluish kind of iguanas, but he was a big boy. So I just happened to look up, and there's this little tiny brown and rust-colored one sitting there. And it was probably like 3 feet long, but it was skinny. And next thing I know, the big one comes down the steps, and he's doing his head, like bobbing his head at the little one. And I thought, we're going to see an iguana fight. I think they were going to mate.
Oh.
Or he was calling her in because he runs down. I have the video of it. He runs down the steps, and the other one, like, it kind of gets right behind him, and I was like, oh. But then he kind of circles him, comes back up the steps, and he's inviting him up to his little roost.
Yeah.
It's
Like, come up here. I got a nest.
Yeah, so the first morning wake up, there's a frog in the toilet, my biggest fear. Thank God I didn't have to, like, flip the lid open. So, but I did walk in and opened the door, and I was like, no.
And so did he just hang out there?
Well, he did because I'm like, I'm not. And I'm like, I didn't scream and I wasn't going to wake Chris up. So he was like in there for like 2 hours just sitting there. And I was like, kind of threw a towel up against the door. I'm like, I'm not going to get close enough because what if it did come out? But then he had messaged the lady at the Airbnb and, you know, you're not supposed to flush stuff down the toilet, or do you have to? That wasn't really the case. They just said be mindful of it. I think in different, like in restaurants, they want you to, you know, if you pee, put it in the, you know, try not to do any trash. Anyway, so I'm like, I don't know. Will I flush it? Will it call? I'm like, but I'm not leaning over the toilet. So Chris let it hang out for like, he tried a couple of different things to get it out, but it wanted to just keep moving down. So I'm like, just flush it. And he's like, I'm not flushing the toilet. I'm like, flush it. He flushed it. It came back up. Like,
He's like, this isn't my first rodeo. I am not going down this toilet. I came through that way. Probably.
So the ladies, yes. She said, so I Googled it, and it says in Costa Rica, it's not likely that it comes up, but a lot of times if there's, they will put mesh or some kind of a container over the hole. So we got through that one. Then we had our iguana
Did you have any interactions with monkeys?
No, just one night we were going into town and they've got these little signs and they've got these little crossings. It's almost like you know, when you're rope walking and they have the fence that has the mesh and like the little rope with the handrails on it. It looks kind of like that. They have those going across the street in different places so the monkeys can cross. So we saw 2.
They have an elevated highway,
Yes.
monkey highway.
Yes. And even across like some of the main roads, it has monkey crossings. So you could hear them all around you. When we were on the golf course, we had, you know, of course, iguanas, but we saw some weird looking birds. We had a deer and her baby come across the golf course. Didn't see any snakes, thank goodness. And then that morning I sent you the video of the monkeys. I had zoomed in on my camera like 15 times to get that shot, and it was on high def, so it's all kind of glitchy, but every morning you literally can hear them. And even when we were in the rainforest, you can hear them all around you. You just can't see them.
Yeah, like, interesting. So what was your favorite thing about Costa Rica, do you think?
The waterfalls were really cool. All of it. And the beach that Chris and I found, you are literally driving down, like you drive off of pavement and you're driving on sand, like just a sandy dirt road. And sometimes the vegetation is so thick, if you have your windows down, it's coming in. But you just keep winding. And he's like, I think we should turn around. I'm like, all right, let's look for a spot. And it was tight. So we ended up going, and he's like, I think we're the wrong way. And I'm like, I think if you look on Google Maps, it tells you that there's a beach right here. And so we just kept going. He went to go turn around and found the parking spot. And I was like, cool. There's maybe 6 people on the whole beach the whole time.
How are the bug situations with the rainforest? Because I imagine there's a lot of... Because I was thinking you don't have to take shots to go there.
Now, it's the dry season right now, so I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it was not.
It wasn't buggy?
But they said even in the rain, well, the rainforest could be a little bit different because you can definitely see the vegetation is different. It starts getting a lot greener, but a lot of it is just, it's all dried and brown. I think their wet season kind of ends like December. We were talking to a lady at the golf course, and she was like, the perfect time to come. It's like 79 degrees in November. You're kind of getting at the end of the rain season, but she's like, it rains like Florida. It'll rain for 20 minutes or, you know, sometime during the day, or it'll rain for a little bit in the morning and then it's gone. It's not like monsoon season, but bugs weren't terrible. I didn't think that it was... Like you weren't swatting them, or anything. You know, we did have that big ass grasshopper.
Yeah,
we're coming home from dinner one night, and I was like, "What is that?" And the next thing you know, you just see this arm, the grasshopper arm, come up, and we get out of the car at the house, and
it attacks Chris.
Chris is trying to he's like, I'm going to try to take a picture of it. So it had come down on the hood of the car, and he's like, put your hand out there. I'm like, I'm not putting my hand out
there. So he wanted scale.
Yeah, he was trying to do scale. And the next thing you know, it jumped, and it landed on the ground, and I thought that it was gone. Next thing you know, it's on his shirt. We didn't realize it until we got inside. That thing was, that was big. yesterday,
That was the funniest video. I must have watched that 10 times and laughed and laughed and laughed.
oh, it was funny. I was like, "Is that your girl squeal?" And he's like, "Yes, that is my version of a girl squeal." So yesterday morning, I'm trying to check us in, and he's like, "Robin, come here. Come here." I'm like, "Do I need my phone?" He's like, "No, come here." There's a scorpion in our shower.
Ooh.
He was like half dead. It's tiny. But I might have been missing some arms, but I don't know how long it had been there. And I'm like, if that's been at our house, how did I get our sheets?
Oh.
And they just had a couple little ants, but they have bug spray. So I ended up taking a paper towel. For the most part, like where we stayed, the air conditioning, it worked perfect. You know, when we were in Aruba, the Airbnb, they only have the bedrooms air conditioned, and they have the wall units. They actually worked really well, but we were comfortable, ceiling fans, and so we had all the modern day amenities. But the minute you go off of our neighborhood, it's just so different.
Mm-hmm.
Even the grocery stores, you know, everything's so different.
Is there any food that you're thinking, oh, wow, I wouldn't have that? Like,
well, it was kind of, we didn't really try any restaurants. They have like a lot of like local sodas is what they call them, or like family owned restaurants. I just don't know that our bodies are used to the way that they cook in their, I don't know how they store their food. And I'm like, I know that our meats and stuff. So we did get a steak one night. I asked for medium, and I'm like, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
I'm like, when you see the white, yeah, I'm like, no, I can't do that. Not doing that.
But there was no like weird, like candied squid or any kind of weird, specific local food that.
I got sea bass taquitos one night. That was pretty good. Those were really good. But for the most part, the best meals really we had at home.
Yeah, almost. Right.
Well, the first night we got there, I ended up making flatbread pizzas, and I was like, man. So I just whipped up a sauce really quickly, and Chris is like, we were hungry. Deli meat, you just had to be really careful. Like they had some prepackaged, like, so the first grocery store we had, they didn't have a deli. And then you did see some labels that we had, but for the most part, the eggs were phenomenal.
I bet. Free range.
Oh, gosh.
Wander around eating everything.
And the shells were so hard.
Yeah.
They're really hard. And then the yolk was so like orangey. I was like, man. So we had breakfast at home every day because that was good. And then we would pack usually like prosciutto and cheese, or we did pack sandwiches one day going. But their processed deli meat was like, did not do so well in our tummies. And it's like, so I did seafood, chicken, or Italian. I kind of just stayed in that genre. Chris was like, we're going to make hamburgers one night. And he brought ground beef. And I'm like, I'm not cooking that. I'm not cooking it, and I'm not eating it. It's a different color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wondered about that because there are certain places that they just, it's just different food, it's just different food. So until you should explore and taste stuff. But I was wondering, is there a fruit that you're like, I've never seen this fruit before, or
not really? So they
something?
have tons. Like right now, just by the side of the road, they have markets. And it's mostly papaya, mango, and I didn't see any like the star fruit fish or the star fruits or. I didn't really see anything weird and unusual. We did get some green oranges that were really good. They have like their version of peaches, which is it really is dry and fibery so it wasn't really juicy. And I'm like maybe I just didn't get it ripe enough. So I let it go a couple more days, and it was starting to, you could tell it was drying out, and it still wasn't. So I was like, meh. But the mandarin oranges, the pineapple is out of this world. The tomatoes and the cucumbers are so good.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you go to a different country, their vegetables are like, bleh. I mean, you would cut into it, and it is red. It is like a southern garden tomato. Pineapple was fresh. The mangoes were fresh. I'm not a big, the papaya is a little bit mushy. I was like, But the watermelon and cantaloupe are predominant right now, I think, because it's just everywhere you go. That's what they have. But
Yeah, it's hard in New England to get a good cantaloupe.
Yeah. And what's funny is we said, like, we were thinking, like, we're going to go to the national park, and it says it's only like 35 minutes north of us. So, like, let's go up there. We'll explore. We'll do some different beaches. We want to head south where the whales are. We were on the tail end of them. So it said like 35 miles. So we get in, put the GPS in putting in the coordinates. You have to put in the longitude and latitude for some of the places, which is a little bit hard. I think Waze was better about. So we had to figure out how to put the correct address to get where you were going in. So we head out going to the rainforest, and Chris had pre-bought tickets to the national park, thinking that we had to, because we didn't want to do the excursions, but we did research that you can go on your own to certain waterfalls. So we drive up to the national park. It takes us 2 hours and 25 minutes to go 35 miles. It is literally like, I mean, if something breaks down, it breaks down. And there's so many times that you saw like workers in back of the trucks, and they've got sitting on top of piles of sugar cane. These big trucks just sitting on the back of them, or people hanging out. I saw kids hanging out remember you used to sit on the window and hang out, like you'd hold on to the window. And there's motorcycles and scooters everywhere, and they will pass you on the left and the right, and it's just everything. Their highway is literally a 2-lane road, and it is a drop off. Like, you don't want to catch an edge. You don't want to run off the shoulder, because your car would be vertical. It would just be sideways. And that's kind of everywhere you go. Like, and they have like nice restaurants. And I'm sure if you go to resorts, like, it's all, but we didn't go into any fancy restaurants. We usually just ate in town. Some of the places that we had looked in some of the recommendations from the owner of the Airbnb. So we tried those, and those were good. But most of the time it was like you wanted to catch the sunset.
Yes. The
was
sunset was beautiful.
phenomenal. And I didn't even do any edits. Like, I did one where you could see it going down, and then the oranges, and then literally we're sitting there, and it's like all these shades of purple and blue. Like, it's just so pretty.
Yeah. It's funny how different places have different sky.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
So my in-laws went to Montana, and they said, it's called Big Sky out there, and it is different. The sky is distinctly larger, looming larger over you. So, yeah, it's cool to see different places.
Yes.
So I have heard 3 different groups of people go to Costa Rica this year, and it's been in my travel and leisure magazine or any kind of my travel magazines, and I think it's pretty affordable.
Yeah, I
think it's safer
great.
than it was,
Well, so we had debated. It was so hot. It was so hot, and it was windy. And if you're not near the water, or like in town, and we were up on a hill, so we always had we always had a breeze blowing, but it also is the windy season. Like, we just happened to hit. Well, I don't know how windy. It wasn't as bad in town, but if you're in higher elevations, it's whipping. And it would seem to die down. What was I saying? Temperature.
We were talking about the sky and just it being more affordable and safe.
Oh, yes. Well, they tell you, don't leave anything in your car. Always lock your doors at night. And I think just being precautious, but we didn't have anybody, solicit us. Even people, when we were sitting at the bar watching the sunset would go down, a lot of times we would go get an appetizer, and we would go get like a margarita or something and watch the sun go down. And some people would walk along the beach with whistles or different things and try to sell you, but they would just kind of hold it up and then move on. It's not like you're in Jamaica and they try to like petition, sell you.
Right. They're holding you hostage until you buy something.
Yeah, so everybody's pretty cool, and like even the locals, and even like people at the grocery store, everybody that we met was really super friendly. Super friendly. I don't know that I would go back. I don't know that I would go back to the Pacific Coast side. Like, I love it, definitely. It's just such a long time. Like, the best way to do it, if you really wanted your time, is if you could do a helicopter ride to the rainforest. And like, we had originally signed up to do like 4 days of golf, and it's about like $300 for 2 people to play. So he'd booked the tea time, the day before, and so it was like 150 per person. So he's got an app like Golf Deals. That morning it had popped up and said they are running a special at that golf course for 150 for both of us with a cart. So Chris is like, yeah, we're doing it. But it was hot.
Yeah.
I didn't end up playing the 17th, and we're drinking water constantly, and they have a cooler of ice and stuff, and we had stopped at the turn to grab lunch. But by the 17th hole, I was just I was so overheated, and I'm like, I don't want any more sun on my body. I just don't even, we would find the shade spots, but just beating down.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
equator hot.
so it didn't make fun. So, Chris finished out.
So you almost have to do it first thing in the morning or late in the afternoon, but you're just by water during the
Yeah.
middle of the day.
But they're so close to the equator. Their sunset does not deviate that far. So like right now it's at the later time. You start to see the colors. It will go down like 5:45, and by 6 o'clock, 6:15, it's dark. And that's pretty consistent all night. So how late you go in the afternoon is going to determine, because they stop.
Right.
And
it's
I'm like,
hard
I
stop.
don't think I want to be out there
In the dark.
No. We're at the driving range, and you can hear the howler monkeys, and they're really close by. So of course I'm looking in the trees, and he's like, "Are you gonna swing?" Yes, I will.
I'm going to make sure a monkey doesn't drop on top of me.
Yes, I was waiting for a monkey.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be trying to snuggle one of those guys.
I'm
Just
like,
let me
you would think
snuggle
so.
one.
I'm like, it's got to be their version of squirrels.
Right, because they're so prevalent and they're just in the trees all the time.
Yes, but
Yeah.
no.
They're
No,
smarter than some
You
girls.
can hear the dogs, and sometimes, in the neighborhood, you can hear the dogs barking, but it's usually, they'll start carrying on, and, a group will go, and then another group of dogs, and you hear the monkeys, but, and you hear the birds, and...
So it's very nature-oriented.
Yes. Where we were, on our house, you are literally in the jungle. I love waking up in the morning and you see even the tree lines, even the mountains or the hills you can see the trees, and it almost looks like you can see the base of the mountain, you can see the line, the shape of the mountain, but you've got these trees, so it almost looks like Einstein's hair sticking up, because you can see all the fuzzy in the fringe along the tops, and it has that little bit of a hazy in the sunrise waking up, and you just hear all the birds chirping, and you literally feel like you were smack dab in the jungle. And
Very cool.
our house had that infinity pool, so literally right up on the edge of the infinity pool was all these jungle plants, and you just hear all the sounds, and you have the little lizards and geckos running around, and big iguanas on your pool, and you're like, oh hey. I literally was sitting there. I was sitting there on the step of the pool, and my back was turned, so I went to get up, and I turned around, and he's literally from there to that doorknob away from me, and I'm like, ooh, Chris, come back. So the water's a little bit rough, and I don't know if that was because of windy. I mean, we could get out, but it wasn't like Aruba water, you're just the small waves.
Yeah,
but
you were body surfing every
yes,
time you were out
yes,
in the water.
yes, you were fighting.
Yeah.
Certain bathing suits, you're definitely fighting to keep them on.
Getting wrestled with.
Yes, wrestling.
Well, we are glad that you're back.
I think it's good to be back.
Yeah.
It was a long flight.
How long did it take you?
We left yesterday at 10 o'clock their time.
From Boston? I mean, from Costa Rica?
Yeah, and then it was an hour and 40 to the airport. Once you get in there, then I think it was a 4-hour and 20-minute ride to Charlotte. We couldn't get a direct flight. Then we had a 2-hour layover, and then we got on the plane last night at 10:40, landed at almost 1.
Oh, yeah,
So by the time we had to check our bags, but we got to Manchester, so at least we didn't have to.
Oh, good. So you
drive
didn't
back
have to
from-
come from
yeah.
Boston. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Because you left out of Boston, correct?
No, we left out of Manchester.
Oh, good.
It actually wasn't that bad, because there wasn't really any direct flights. I think Saturdays they might have a direct flight. There's one day they had a direct flight, but
So on a scale of 1 to 10 for recommendations,
10.
10.
10.
Nice.
You just have to go in. Like I said to Chris, it's such a surreal world, like just driving through all the local, and you're everywhere. You're surrounded, even in the town where the 5-star hotels are. It's not built up. Like the shoreline is not built up. The hotels are tucked away. So you have all the local businesses on Main Street. And it's congested. And it kind of reminds you of Thailand. And like it reminds you like of those busy streets. Like there's these, beat up old produce trucks and, people crossing the road. And like you have to be vigilant all the time. Like it is, and you feel like you clench your teeth every time a car passes you by because you're like, am I going to lose my mirror? I mean, it's just...
Oh, yeah. Driving in other countries frightens me. Frightens me for sure because they know where they're going. I don't know where I'm going.
Yes.
And then they're going so fast. And we were in St. Lucia and they like whip and hit the vegetation. So the vegetation is attacking the car or the car is attacking the vegetation.
Yes.
And you're like, what is going on? And then everyone's honking at everyone else, and it's just crazy.
Well, but it's so different too. Like you literally can park anywhere. Like they don't have the same, which is good and bad. They have so many less regulations. And I know a lot is supposed to keep us safe and things like that, but
yeah, but sometimes it's
but literally when you're parking on the street, there are cars even going, if you're down a one-way street, like we went down I don't think it was a one. All the cars were going in that way. So one of the security guards, there's like a little guard at a parking lot. So everybody's trying to make money. And so I don't know who owns it, but it's just a guy who shows up and he's like, $2, I'll watch your car, keep it secure for you for $2, it's just, he's like, okay. But Chris was going down all the cars. And I was like, maybe this is the one way. So he rolls the window down, asks the guy, and he's like, can I go this way? And he's like, yeah. Because
we don't care.
There are cars that are parked on the street, like headlight to headlight. It does not matter. And they're all jammed in. And it's like, wherever you go and just whatever, sit down here. There you go. And it just, everybody's just super cool about.
Yeah. And so so the people are nice.
Yes.
Food's decent.
Yes.
Location's great.
Yes.
Sunset's great.
Yes.
Affordable.
You just don't go and expect it to be,
the 5-star resort at
fancy.
The yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the Ritz-Carlton. It's not the Four Seasons.
You literally have a restaurant. So there's a guy.
Which is kind of cool in a way.
It is cool. Like I said to him, I'm like, I feel like in driving back from the rainforest, you look out and some of the tree lines in the fields, sugarcane is huge. And so a lot of the fields were being harvested. And there's just the way that the sun was hitting all the wheat and it's blowing. It's magical. And then you see the tree line and you see all these like trees that look like they're African, they're short, but they're long. So these big canopies, and all you see these big white, the oxen or the cows that have the big hump on their back and the big horns and the long floppy ears. You just see like 50 of them out.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Good
I see Jim
morning.
Lawrence. Good morning, Jim.
You coming in to hit us up? Jump on the mic. We were just talking about Costa Rica.
Oh, I've never been.
You got to fix our camera. You just knocked Nisa. You just
We are welcoming Jim Lawrence to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Oh, did I mess up your optics here? Sorry.
Yeah.
That's right. You just took Lisa out.
Yeah. You just took me out. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I can't see Lisa, though. She's on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, hold on.
I know they got to move that mic. We need to get everything low profile.
So
There
you
we go.
walked in like a purpose. What's up?
Like a purpose?
Like
you
a
walked in
purpose?
here like you had a purpose.
I always have a purpose. What do you mean by that?
I have
You
a
like
question
purpose?
for you. So unrelated to anything, but I was thinking of this. We were talking about moon cycles, and you said that you have meetings according to the moon cycle. But when you came on our show and I asked you if you believed in astrology, you did not. So tell me how that works.
Now, wait a minute. There's a difference between the study of the movement of celestial bodies, which is astronomy,
Not horoscopes.
and astrology.
Okay.
So
and
one
tell
is
me the difference. Tell me
one
the
is
difference.
based on math and science,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is based on, well, how can I put this the best? I don't know. Yeah, like voodoo or
Universal juju.
witchcraft, or I don't know. I mean, what's astrology based on?
Isn't it based on the position of the planets at specific times of year?
The magnetic pull.
in the magnetic
Well-
pull,
Come on,
and the
you don't
energy
you don't
fields
think
of the
that
cosmos?
people on the full moon? You don't think people get wacky?
Well, I do. I think the moon has a physiological effect on us based
But
on
other
where it is.
planets don't.
But, well, I don't know. I mean, you tell me what astrology is about. Because to me, based on everything that I see, it's based on, we believe that these planetary alignments mean this. And then somebody writes this long paragraph as to all the reasons why things are going to happen to somebody during this time frame. But it doesn't seem to be based on anything.
Right. So Mercury in retrograde is one I believe in. So Mercury in retrograde, it appears that it's spinning in the opposite direction. And every time my life and everyone's life feels like it's catastrophically coming to some kind of weird halt,
Perpetual
all
full moon.
technology breaks, no technology works right, and I say something and say, what is Mercury in retrograde? And there's always one astronomy person in the back going, yeah, Mercury is in retrograde. So I do think we're not in a vacuum, and I think we are affected by all things and everything. Just like the moon is affected to our planet, I don't think we can just limit it to one planet and say, yes, that fully affects us, but all the other ones don't.
Well, for the moon, we can actually measure the impact that it has based on where it is. I mean, look at the effect that it has on the tides. Look at the effect that it has on there's like a specific thing that you can point to scientifically that you can measure that the moon is in this phase and this is the impact that it's having. I mean, any other planet that's, a million miles away, they're not really impacting things in that fashion. So there's no concrete scientific evidence that that's doing anything.
The next time my life's going crackers and all my technology's breaking, I'm going to call you and say, could you check and see if Mercury's in retrograde? And we're going to have this conversation because I'll tell you, Mercury has something to do with my life. The moon does.
Are you talking about the substance Mercury, or are
I
you
am
talking
an
about
Aries.
the planet?
I'm talking about the planet.
Planet. Okay. Well,
I mean, if the moon can have that effect, why can't a planet have that effect on us? We don't know.
It can, but the moon is close enough to us, and it's close enough to the Earth that it actually has scientific, physical impacts on the Earth that we can measure. I'm going to keep going back to that. Mars is too far away. It's not doing anything. It's just spinning around, going around the sun just like the rest of us, far, far away.
I agree. I believe it. I'm
So
I'm
this is
brain
perfect.
dead
This
this
is
morning.
actually perfect.
Brain dead. When did you
Yes.
get back?
this morning at 3.
Wow, you're a
Yes.
trooper, and you
And
showed
it's
up.
2 hours earlier. Yeah, and so I do want to talk to you. So I hope you're there. I want to talk to you about our restaurant.
Oh, okay. Well,
So this is funny. So it says Mercury will be in apparent retrograde motion during the following periods, March 14th to April 6th, which I can tell you,
We're in
as
it.
right as rain, we're in it, which I can totally feel.
so what do you feel?
I feel that everything is so hard.
Agitated energy.
So
Making backwards, not making any forward progress, but all forward progress not only stops, but you keep reverting back to a previous state.
So I'm going
Old
to tell you,
patterns.
for me personally, right now, I don't feel that. I feel like leading up to this period that I was in that phase, right now I'm definitely moving forward.
Yeah, because you're a Cancer. so
I
you're
have
not
cancer or
affected.
I am a cancer.
You
What was that?
are a Cancer. You're a July baby, right?
I am.
Yeah, so you're a Cancer. Aries, and I believe I am an Aries as a birth sign because I have very distinctive horns. I have a stubborn streak to me. I also am the energy of spring. I have that. I love new projects. I love taking on new things. Finishing, you know, is not as fun as starting to me. You know, I love a new project. I love a
See,
new
I'm a
something
Virgo,
new.
and I like to put a period on it. I like it to be done.
Yeah.
Is it a period or an exclamation point?
Either.
Mostly an exclamation point, but yes. Yeah, Chris was explaining this movie. He's like, you should watch this movie. And he's like, never mind, don't. We were on the plane last night, and he's like, it's actually pretty good. It was like, but he said the way that it just ends, you have all these questions that are building the whole movie. I hate when you have a cliffhanger at the end, because I don't need any more things in my head to contemplate. I'm watching it to get your message, to hear what your story, what you're trying to
And
tell
you
me.
want it wrapped up at the end.
Right.
Wait a minute. So there's a limit? What's the limit of things that you can have in your head at one time?
I probably have like 1,000 right now open.
Okay.
1,000 tabs. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't take another one until you close out one. Is that how it works?
Yes.
All right.
I feel like I can pick up another one. And like this morning, I'm like, I am not going to unpack this morning. I'm going to get myself ready. I'm just going to have a chill morning. Nope. Guess what I did? I unpacked. I did not start the laundry.
Right. Which, thank goodness, because you never
I
close.
can't have it sitting there. It feels like it's still undone. It's why I don't like dishes in the sink, whether I'm at any time of the day, really. Whether I'm getting ready to cook. But I don't like to come downstairs in the morning, and I don't like the kitchen or anything to be a mess. I don't like the pillows out of order on the couch. Like, I like it to come down and being a clean, like, I don't have to do something right away.
Translation. She lives in a museum.
Well,
So
not
somebody
really.
walks into your house, they go,
Does anyone live here?
yeah. Is anybody here ever?
No. So our son picks us up last night, and we get home, and he's like, yeah, we did this. And their cousins came up from New York to do the parade for the St. Patty's Day. So they all had a great time, and they all drove him. So they live in New York. They come to Boston. They drive to New Hampshire to drop him off. And then they drove back to New York. There's 22-year-olds for you.
Yep.
Right.
Like,
And that's what you
makes
do.
sense.
That's the energy
Yeah.
of a 22-year-old.
Yep.
And then a couple of days later, he's like, well, my daughter's going to stay an extra night at home because somebody needs to watch the kiddies, because he's decided he's going to go to a rave in Portsmouth. Like, awesome.
All right.
And I was like, oh, did you guys go get dinner? And he's like, no, I made pasta and everything for everybody here. And I'm like, oh, boy.
The kitchen's going to be
So
disaster.
what did it look like?
Well, there is a hole in the door. It looks like somebody fell against the door in the
See, wait a minute. I was expecting you to
Yeah.
tell me there was some dirty dishes in the sink. No, there was a hole in the door.
in the pantry door going into the kitchen. He's like, oh yeah, we were playing, and he said I fell against it, my shoulder hit it just right. He's like, I tried to pop it off. So I'm walking down the hall in the bathroom, right off of the thing, the lid is on the floor, and he's like, I think there's like a screw that's like, there must have been corroded or something. He's like, it doesn't work, but I found all the water. This water was on the floor, and I emptied the tank, and I turned the water off. It works if you hold the tank down like this on one side. And I'm like, oh God, don't do this at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Right.
It's like, I gotta go.
You had 10 days to
How
fix.
old is this boy?
22. Chris is like, yeah, why didn't he fix it? It's like, well, I'm like, well, it's the one that we're remodeling. I'm like, just let it go, let it go. And he's like, I know. He's like, I'm glad you told me tonight instead of in the morning.
That's all right. I got you beat.
No.
I got you beat. We don't want to talk about kids with toilet stories, but I have to let this one go.
All right, let's hear it.
So I had a very nice Kohler toilet in the guest bathroom, and I couldn't get it unclogged no matter what I did. You know, I used a special snake and everything. It was just completely plugged. So I ripped it out and got a new toilet and put it in. No big deal, right? Things happen. So this happens again 6 months later. And I said, oh, no. I've been through this already. So now I just go straight for the gusto. I pull the toilet.
Yep.
There's an apple with 2 bites out of it plugged in the toilet. So now I'm furious. So, and my kids were younger then. You know, I had a bunch of little kids in the house. So now I've got them all lined up. I'm like, all right, Somebody's going to fess up to this right now. So it ended up being one of my daughters. And I'm like, first of all, why were you eating an apple on the toilet? And then she's like, I'm sorry, it fell in and I didn't know what to do. I said, well, why didn't you tell somebody? So now I'm thinking back to the other toilet. It says, this is what happened to the other toilet. Yes, it was. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Just say something, right? But an apple?
Right.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So we still have to have those signs in 2025 that say things not to flush down the toilet.
An apple is one of them. But you know what? I would never put that on a sign because I
you couldn't fathom that
That's right.
someone would throw an apple
You don't
down
know what
there.
you don't know.
Right.
Well, when you have 8 kids, you're going to learn a lot of stuff that you
and
don't
I feel
know.
that way when we used to manage
is true.
buildings. I used to say that about tenants. They'd say something like, like someone brought their motorcycle into a bedroom, into a second floor house in Nashua, and they were doing oil changes in the bedroom. And I'm like, you can't have a motorcycle in a bedroom on the second floor.
How did they get it up there?
Right, exactly.
They just rode it into the elevator?
There was no elevator. It was a walk up. I have no idea how they got this. I have no idea how they got this up there.
Disassembled it and reassembled it. For
But
an oil
I said,
change.
you can't do that. And they say, it doesn't say in the lease I can't do that. I said, first of all, it says in the lease that you can't do oil changes anywhere on the building, anywhere on the property,
yeah.
because of disposal issues and stuff like that. And also, I couldn't possibly fathom all of the different ways you can come up with ways to break leases. So I can't encompass everything in a lease. That's why we say things like no commercial activity on a residential lease. We can't we can't say, well, don't sell meth or don't sell cocaine or don't sell, we can't think of all the different things that you would sell here. Just
no apples in the toilet.
Nothing but residential use, which is sleeping and eating and sitting on, normal activities. So
I could, well, I'm not going to go there.
yeah. So I used to get into it because we'd have like a 15-page lease and they'd be like, but it's not in the lease. And it's like, who thought you were going to do that? I've never heard of anyone, at 47 years old, I've never heard of anyone using a house for this purpose.
No.
Well, last time she told us that somebody had an alligator.
Yeah.
In a kiddie pool.
Yep.
In Nashua.
In Nashua.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would have anticipated that one.
You would have anticipated that one.
Yes. Well.
See, I thought because the door lock was padlocked from the exterior, that I thought there's some, from all the true crime stories that I read, that there was going to be some girl chained in this bedroom. And I was like, oh, I'm freeing this woman who's been abducted and just chained in this bedroom.
So let me guess. You opened the padlock, you ran inside, you saw the alligator, you screamed and ran out the other way.
I said, you have to open this door. And he's like, I'm not opening that door. And I'm like, okay, don't make me get the police. Open this door. We legally have a right to be in this building. This person bought this unit. We gave you legal notice. We have to see all of the place. And now I need to know what's in this door. And, at first you think, the wild, far-fetched part of me thinks that there's a person, but I'm thinking there's a drug operation or something like that in there, most likely, right?
No, it's just an alligator farm.
And it's an alligator in a baby pool with plexiglass. And those pools that you kind of put up in the yard, and then they attach with some screws, plexiglass. And he was tip to tail in this pool, and so. I was not expecting that. If you told me in the morning, you can see an alligator today in an apartment, I would not have guessed that.
All right, so what'd you do?
Called Fish and Game. And said, can you legally have an alligator in New Hampshire? And the answer is no, you cannot legally have an alligator in New Hampshire. Because people go, oh, what do you do with this alligator? And then they throw it in a lake or pond, and then we have alligators in our lakes and
Lake
ponds.
Placid.
Yes.
In Newfound Lake, we're getting attacked by alligators now.
Well, I don't think an alligator could survive our winter, though.
No, but between May and September, it's going to wreak havoc. Do you know, but in Africa, those alligators live in droughts for like 4 years.
Yeah, droughts,
But they're solar thermic. Their body, when it gets cold.
It was living in a
I don't think they
pitch
could
black
survive.
bedroom. It was in a pitch black bedroom.
They have
It was
no
alive in there.
skills.
Yeah, but it needs heat, so it probably had a heating source. All reptiles need, like Robin astutely already pointed out, they need a secondary heat source. They can't produce their own heat. So
Yes.
Yeah, so this poor little guy. So he did get, taken and brought somewhere in some. Now he's in some park.
he's a boot,
He's
or
not
he's a handbag.
And a belt.
Yes, some shoes.
I would do some alligator skin boots.
It's soft.
I have some crocodiles.
I would like that.
I don't think you can get those anymore.
Even in Florida?
No, I think the
Texas,
crocodile. The crocodile is something that they stopped doing for some
Endangered?
reason. It was an import thing. I remember in around 2008 time frame they did something.
We went to Miami and we went on that swamp boat ride that they take you through, and then we went to an alligator farm where they just made purses and shoes, and then they sold the meat.
Yeah. I don't know if
Oh.
crocodiles are endangered or something, but there are no crocodiles here.
Right. Hopefully. Not in anyone's apartment.
Well, there aren't any in the
We saw a
United
lot of
States. We don't
signs.
have them. They're alligators.
No, I think we have crocodiles.
Oh yeah, where?
Florida.
You think so?
I've seen them.
Well, yeah, I think you've seen alligators.
There is one in, I can't remember if it's
In the zoo?
it's the zoo or Tampa or somewhere, and they said that he had to be fished out because he was causing, when they would rescue the astronauts, he was jeopardizing all
yeah.
of the rescues. And he was a 14-foot crocodile.
Really?
Yeah.
Saltwater crocodile.
Yes.
Hmm.
So,
You
Never
learn
say
something
never.
every.
So
They fl-
American crocodiles are native to South Florida and the Caribbean, and range extends in parts of Central and South America. We saw signs everywhere. We saw signs everywhere for crocodiles, and Chris is like going in there, and
in
he's
Costa
like,
Rica.
yeah, he's like, okay. So we had to pack. So we packed our golf clubs, and he's got these Ziploc bags, and he's got, I have 12 balls for you, and I have 12 balls for me. And so
So golf starts after the 12th ball slot.
right off the tee. Well, it's poundage wise what you had to get, and
okay.
so he's got both of our clubs into one golf bag
All right.
because our travel bag, and like I'm not paying. I'm like, it's international flight. You should have free bag. You should have a free check bag.
So who'd you fly?
American Airlines. It was the best connection, shortest flight.
All right.
So not my choice, but then they always do their spiel, their credit card spiel, and you can get one free check bag, and I'm like, no, that's not tantalizing enough for me.
Right.
To be joined to you in a banking relationship.
Yeah.
One bag.
And
yeah.
have your credit card, and
And I got into that with JetBlue because they say you have one bag,
Depending on which fare you buy.
right? So I get there and they're like, it's $75. I'm like, I have one bag. They're like, yeah, you have one bag you can pay $75 for. I'm like, that's not what it states here. They
Yeah.
said it, and so we got into the whole thing, and I'm like, so am I not going on this flight? I'm paying the $75, but that is bull, because if you say one bag, I have one bag, then I have one bag that's included in my fare. And they're like, no, you get to pay $75 for one bag. I'm like, is everyone flying on your airline with no bags?
No.
Like, don't be ridiculous. So
No,
either charge me
and-
$75 or tell me it's $75 and I only can buy one bag.
So JetBlue plays the game that if you have certain status or if you have the credit card, you get certain perks, and they add the bag based on that. And also, you can purchase different fares. Like if you get the I forget what they call all their different levels. But
Yeah.
if you
So I
you
didn't
go
know
up,
that. Yeah.
if you go up a level,
yeah.
Yeah.
they include these perks.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of that nickel and diming me every 15 minutes through this whole process. Tell me what you're going to charge me. You know, that's my theory, because in Southwest language, they say you get one bag per flight.
It used to be two.
Right. But now
Not
it's
that long
one.
ago. Now it's one. They're all the airlines
Yeah.
are playing this game.
But it's still free no matter what fare you buy. The wanna get away fare, the professional fare, whatever. It's always one bag free. So the
I just-
language was the same. So I thought that was nonsense.
I just want to go back to the old days when I could go on a hunting trip in Arkansas and cut up my deer, freeze it, put it in a bunch of coolers, and check my bags and get on the plane.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But that's
It's a
the way it
crime
used to
scene.
be.
I know they told me. Chris is like, did you take? Because it does tell you that you can't take shells, and I'm like, I've always taken shells. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
sand
taking, I'm
shells.
not taking a live one, but I try to get all the sand out of my little shells. But it was all the little unicorn ones.
hmm
They had the little spirally ones, and I'm like, I'm gonna put those in a bowl in my bathroom. They're all white.
That's
so-
it. I'm calling Costa Rica
Yes.
on you.
So we get in there and we have global entry, and so they're like, well, Costa Rica doesn't have global entry, and I'm like, all right, because we can get a TSA pre-check. Nope, wasn't there. We get in Charlotte, and she's like, so we did the face scan for global entry. I'm like, oh, this is sweet, because everybody else on our flight was like still way back there in line. We go through, now we're going through security. We had to go get our bag to recheck it in Charlotte. So the lady was like, "Oh, if you're global entry, you have TSA, but you have to do it when you're buying your ticket, so it will print on your boarding pass or it will print on your wallet." It wasn't on there, so she's like, "Go right over here to special services, get your printed out." So we do all that, and I'm like, "It's kind of dead now." Going in there, like, we don't really need to. She's like, go, go, go. So we're just shuffling there. So we spend 10 minutes in line getting our new tickets printed out. Get to TSA pre-check. He scans my passport and he's like, "Oh, you're general." I'm like, "What?"
How did that happen?
He's like, "You're gonna follow me," and I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm TSA." He's like, "Not tonight. You're general." And I'm like, I look back at Chris. He's like, and the guy's like, "Move on." And I'm like, he's with me. So if we get separated,
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's literally through the gate, but I'm like, all that for nothing to then to go through. I'm like, are you?
Travel is no longer glamorous on airlines.
Private jet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I said. We were waiting for our bag to come out because it was just a little hopper from Charlotte to Manchester. And I was like, man, this is why I like flying direct. Only other way to do it, first class, direct, or private. Chris is like, "I'm working on it."
Yeah, let me add that to my list of things
Yeah.
to get accomplished.
After the new toilet and a hole in the door. All right.
Right.
'Cause we're busy, busy, busy,
Right.
busy.
He's like, "Is someone to replace that door?" Yes.
And so I was going to talk today's show, and then we'll end up doing it on the second hour. But don't listen to the theys of the world. There are so many thems and theys that have so many things to say. And one of the things was how dangerous Costa Rica was.
Yes.
And now I've
Who
heard
says that?
for everyone for a while that you didn't want to go to South America, that there was always kidnappings and all kinds of
Well,
stuff.
we did like there's like our Airbnb. She's like, make sure you lock the doors at night. Make sure you
Which you would do
this and-
anywhere. I would
Yes.
do here.
And they all say don't leave your stuff in the car. Don't. It can happen, but we felt safe. She just said, don't go out at night by yourself. Chris is like, "I'll walk you to the bathroom," because I don't know if it's blonde hair or but you definitely get some attention. Like you get a lot of people will beep at you, and like here people don't really beep at you. I mean, every once in a while you get a cat call.
Those
or
days are
something,
gone.
But, I mean, there's like
Everybody's too afraid here.
Right.
Yeah.
The PC police are going to be coming after
Right.
them.
But you have a little bit of people, and we're coming around the corner, and the guy was like, "You better hold on to that one. You're lucky." And Chris just had my hand a little bit tighter as we're going back.
Chris should do what I do when that happens out like overseas. If somebody says something like that, it says, "You don't have enough goats. Get out of here."
She won't be traded. You're listening to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. Stay tuned. We're going to the top of the hour. We'll be right back.
WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at WSMN.live.